Now, with Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks debuting in New Japan finally, of course, even before that and afterwards, there's been back and forth with a lot of fans. Some happy for her being there finally, doing what she should have been doing in their eyes a long time ago, and that's betting on herself, see what she could do outside of the WWE. Well, there are those that feel like, she's all hype, and everything, all talk, but no substance, and that she's going to, in their eyes, fail hard, or basically just, expose herself to the people at New Japan and make them realize they've wasted money on her. And I've noticed that not just with the whole Sasha Banks Mercedes Moné situation right now, but I've noticed that throughout last year and even at the beginning of this year. But basically, long story short, I've noticed it in the past couple of years. Even before it was announced that Mercedes Sasha was going to go to New Japan, and the back and forth there. And when I look at these comments and all that, what I look at mainly is a lot of folks, just not understanding each other. Pretty much it. I look at the fact that those that are known as WWE drones or E-drones are looked at as people that don't get why people that are overall wrestling fans, period. Either the overall casual, hardcore, or just the average wrestling fan that gives every place an opportunity to prove themselves to them as a fan. A lot of people look at the E-drones as not understanding that, hey, the reason we're happy for Sasha Mercedes taking this bet on herself is now she can get back to what made her love the business, and maybe upon eventually returning to WWE, make them realize, oh, this is the Sasha Banks we should have presented a long time ago, or we should have presented right off the bat when we brought it up to the main roster from NXT. That's what they look at. And to them, the E-drones don't see that they don't understand, oh, Sasha's doing this to kind of remind people at the E, if she goes back, this is what you had in NXT, and this is what you could still have if you let me be myself once again. But when you get to those that don't understand that and feel like she's going to be a failure, she's going to be a botchamania, botch mistress, botch queen, if you will, more so outside of WWE, it's because of the fact that they not only look at what happened between her and Kyrie, when she was trying to do the finisher to her, that being Mercedes to Kyrie, but they also look at the fact of her entrance was kind of botched a little bit, timing wise, but they also look at the fact that they believe Mercedes doesn't have a true appreciation and understanding of what she's getting herself into. Like, to them, the E-drones, as they're called, to them, when she was in WWE pretty much had an understanding of what she could do, and, the reason they would also kind of back her up a little bit on what she was capable of doing more so than what we saw is for her own safety. What those E-drones in a lot of people's minds look at when they bash Sasha for this, Mercedes for this, is mainly they look at the fact that, New Japan and AAA and maybe AEW, maybe Impact, for instance, wherever she makes an appearance outside of NJPW, is going to allow her to go throw caution to the wind and potentially, injure herself, botch herself, and maybe her opponent into near career-ending situations. Because, she doesn't understand or appreciate the fact that she's entering an environment that's vastly different now than when she was last in it over a decade ago. So, that's why they feel like, she's she's basically going to make herself look like a fool, and already we see the I guess you could say the foundation of that, the evidence of that already manifesting in their eyes with what happened during her debut at Wrestle Kingdom. But again, the whole Sasha thing is just an example. We saw it last year when Cody made the jump, how both sides were trying to, argue the fact of, this is why it's happening, this is, why it shouldn't happen, da 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 da. We've seen people talk about it with, FTR and, discussion of where FTR can end up this year. And again, we've just seen it all the way around it. And I believe, like I said at the beginning, it's because they don't understand each other. They don't, really kind of look at it from the other's perspective. Like, oh, okay, I see why you E-drones feel this way about, Sasha doing this and all that. And, the E-drone's not seeing it from the perspective of the average hardcore casual wrestling fan of all wrestling, and realizing, oh, okay, we see why Sasha wants to do this, why she wants to bet on herself. You don't see it. You're not seeing eye to eye, as the old saying would go. Because if you did, all sides would basically understand why, people appreciate this. It's about, Sasha taking a bet on herself, why, FTR might want to consider other places and stuff, and why Sierra, is taking a bet on herself getting cleared and stuff like that. People just, they don't see eye to eye. Like the whole MJF and, the whole MJF situation. Yeah, we know he's still with AEW. He's the world champion. But people, they're going back and forth of like, okay, would he be treated the same, if not better, in WWE? And others would say, oh, no, he should stay in AEW. He's treated like a king, and WWE would screw him up. And again, it's like they don't understand, where the others are coming from when they talk about this. When they bring up these subjects. Like the whole CM Punk situation. A lot of people pretty much, being the casual, average, hardcore wrestling fan, maybe the AEW fan that also watches WWE, they look at CM Punk and they're like, yeah, this guy's going to go back to, AEW. He's heading back, no matter what the reports say. Well, you have basically the E-drones and all of them saying, no, that's not going to happen, because here's Chris Jericho saying he and other top talent are not going to allow that to happen or anything. As I check something here for a second, guys, make sure my battery's still going. Okay, it is. But, you have them pointing out that, Chris Jericho's saying, Chris Jericho and other talent are saying that, oh, he's never going to come back and all that. That he's better off probably taking a chance going to WWE, putting his personal differences aside with Hunter, and, just doing some good business. There's always that misunderstanding that, like I said, that situation where nobody sees eye to eye or can agree on, like, okay, we see where you're coming from with this, but here's why we don't think it will happen. Or the other side saying, yeah, we see what you're saying with that, but here's why it's going to happen and everything. It's just a situation where one side doesn't understand the other. That's what it is. It's kind of like, and I go back to this sometimes as an example, it's kind of like with the whole Sonic relationship deal, romance deal. You have two different sides, maybe multiple different sides of who fans believe Sonic should be with. Some fans believe he should be with Sally. Some believe he should be with Amy. Some believe he should be with Blaze. And so on. Some believe he should just be, remain single and just be an adventurous person. And all of them have the various reasons as to why they believe this. Why they, defend it, and why they feel it's, this should go this way or that, it should go this way or that way and whatever. Fans have, the Sonic fans have their own interpretations, of what they believe a relationship with Sonic romance-wise, what direction it should go in. And sometimes they do agree with each other, like, hey, we understand what you are saying when it comes to him being with Sally. We do understand what you're saying when it comes to him being with, Amy or with Blaze or just staying single. We understand all that. We see your points. But in turn, they would say, but here's why we believe he should be with Sally. Here's why we believe he should be with Amy. Why he should be with Blaze. Why he should remain single. There's those situations where it's like it's agreed upon of, hey, we see your points, but here's why we defend this. Here's why we want it to be like this. And you see that here with, wrestling in the past couple of years, if not more so in 2022 and the beginnings here of 2023. Fans, they don't have that same kind of like understanding. Like, okay, we see why you believe Sasha taking a bet on herself and doing this with New Japan and all that makes sense. We see that, but here's why we don't see it. And you have, others, that agree, that will say, yeah, we understand why you feel she's better off, or she was better off staying in WWE because they understand her, but here's why this is a good thing for her in the long run. And everything else. Like I said, with the whole CM Punk thing, MJF, FTR, Saraya, stuff like that. And look, it's easy for me to say. I'm trying to think about what I'm saying here because I'm doing this, unscripted and filtered. Um, you know, it's a different world. It's a different environment when it comes to wrestling nowadays than it was like over a decade ago or several years ago or even a couple of decades ago. I mean, I can tell you honestly, I'm pretty sure it was out there. Excuse me. Pretty sure it was out there, but you didn't really see this kind of confusion as much back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, back even in the early 2010s, or even, the 80s. You didn't see this kind of, debating, as to why this is good and why that's bad and why this shouldn't happen and da 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 da. You didn't see that. All you saw was people being like, okay, Ric Flair's now in WWF. Okay, I'll just follow watching him there. And yeah, you might understand, okay, why do the fans boo him? Don't they know who he is? And later on you probably figure out, oh, they don't know who he is because maybe they didn't watch NWA, WCW like we do. And everything. So when you had something like Ric Flair going to WWF, or you had Davey Boy Smith suddenly show up in WCW, yeah, you had people kind of wondering, okay, why doesn't the fans react the way they're supposed to? And you realize, oh, it's because they haven't seen this person, as much because they were always wrestling in this company, and fans of that company would see him more so there, and not so much here. And again, you didn't, really see much of a debate of like what you're seeing now, or kind of like a not seeing eye to eye situation like you see now. And hopefully, when 2023, hopefully with 2023 now here, we'll get less of that. I'm not saying we will or anything, but hopefully we'll get less of that. I mean, I already see people saying, oh, when Sasha comes back, you E-drones are going to take back everything you said about her going to New Japan. I already see that and everything. I already see people mocking Sasha for the botch her and Kyrie together, let's be honest with each other, made during her debut. The point is, it's not going to die down, but hopefully we'll see less and less and less of this as we go into this year furthermore. And hopefully as we furthermore go into this year, not only will we get less of it, but we'll get more of an understanding on both sides of the spectrum of, okay, we see where you're coming from as to why this so-and-so is doing this with this company now, but here's why we feel that they should have been better off staying where they are or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in 2023. The first several months is going to be very telling. There's no doubt. But hopefully the wrestling fan base as a whole will lessen on these, debates and not seeing eye to eye, and have a better appreciation and understanding of where the other is coming from. Hopefully that's what we get in 2023. Not saying that's totally going to be 100% accurate. I'd be more satisfied if we at least get maybe 45% of that occurring than anything else. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts of wrestling fans, more so in 2022, and if not a little bit in 2021, but more so in 2022, and kind of starting off already in 2023, what are your thoughts on them going back and forth and not having an understanding of where the other is coming from and why they believe certain things, happen for a certain reason and all that with certain talent? And do you think hopefully maybe at least from a 45% standpoint, we can get less of that this year and more of an understanding? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments as well as in the live chat during the premiere, and I will talk to y'all later.